All right, so it should be live. Sorry about the wait, guys. We had some issues with our Zoom link, but it should be working now. Hopefully, we can have some people come into the call. Thanks for coming in, Jake. Um, let's see. Um, we should be good there. Make sure the stream is working. Good. All right. Thanks, Yannick. Uh, all right, we're just gonna give a couple more, few more, maybe a minute or two, see if anybody else pops into the Zoom call. But thank you all for joining us today for the webinar. Today's date is November 12th of 2020. My name is Clark James. I'm also joined with Stefan Quartermont, the president, CEO, owner, whatever you want to call him, of Crew Technologies, and also AppSheetTraining.com. Um, this recording for the Zoom folks will be recorded and posted on YouTube. So thanks everyone for joining. All right. And today's demo, this is the things we're going to be talking about. It's going to be barcode scanning and QR code scanning. This is going to be a lot of fun, guys. We're going to learn not only how to make AppSheet be able to do these things, but we're also going to learn how to create QR codes and how those functions work with AppSheet.
Yep, it'll be a lot of fun.
It'll be a lot of fun. So we're gonna strip it down, go all the way down to basics for the actual scanning portion of AppSheet, as well as, like I said, creating QR codes, custom QR codes for your specific needs. And then we're also going to, make it as good as possible. We're going to make it super efficient for your business. So yeah, should be a lot of fun. Stefan, if you want to take over, I will
Absolutely
let you. Um, all right.
And for anybody listening in the call or on the stream, if you have anything you want to see regarding barcode scanning or QR scanning, put it in the chat or let your voice be known now, because everybody kind of comes at barcode scanning from a different angle. And there's such a wide variety of use cases. I'm just going to do a simple demo, so it leaves time for some Q&A. And so I would love to have any of your questions as early as possible so we can make sure that the content is relevant to you all who are joining us live. Clark, I still need some permissions to share my screen.
All right, brother. Let's make sure. How about now?
Oh, yes, I'm in.
Here we are.
Okay. Excellent. So I'm just going to start with a blank spreadsheet. I'm going to call it scan. And this is going to be the table we use to actually pull or have our scanning field on. But a scan field isn't a whole lot of, isn't very valuable without knowing what the data behind the scanned image represents. So sometimes when you scan something like a QR code, it might have a link that it's coding for, or it might have a serial number or some sort of text value where there's actually information, inside of what you're scanning. But I think most of the time it's just has a number or a unique ID of sorts that's referencing data that is in some other table that's part of a connected system or something like that. And so that's the use case I'm going to start with. So I'm just going to create an ID for our scan.
Hey, Stefan.
Yes, sir.
We have a question on YouTube. Will this session include barcode generation as well?
Yes, it will. Glad you asked.
Yeah, good.
So we're gonna have a timestamp there, and then the scan field. And you know, I might just might get to a parse of a scan in a little bit. We'll see how far we go there. So that's my scan table. And then I'm going to have here a list of items. Okay. ID, item name, and then I'm going to have a field for a QR code or a barcode image, not for the sake of AppSheet, but for the sake of me actually wanting to be able to scan these items. Okay, so I'm going to make up some ID here. This is a big box, medium box, small box, and micro box. Got a bunch of box here, bunch of boxing. Anybody? Those Brian Regan jokes, boxing of donuts for you. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is our scanner, what we're going to embed in the QR code is this value here, the ID. And then when we scan, that ID is going to land in the scan column. And we can either make that column a reference column, or we have another column that's dependent on the scan column, so like our parse column, that will make a reference to this table, and we should be able to see the item name. Now, I'm going to have a test box here. So before we generate QR codes, I'm going to have a test box, and I'm going to leave, I'm going to put in an ID that is AppSheet's default scanning ID. So 11122 and then 4 threes. I'm pretty sure that is the ID, but we'll find out in a second if I'm wrong. And I'm going to go ahead and make this the first item in the table. So when I build my AppSheet app, it grabs that table first and has some relevant information there.
Hey, Steph, I actually see 4 1s, 2 2s, and 3 3s.
4 1s, 2 2s, 3 3s. Okay. Adding an extra 1. Thank you, sir. I'm going to start with my own data. I'm going to call this app.
You've still got an extra 3 in there, Stefan.
2 2s, 3 3s. Like so. Thank you very much. Guys watching my back, I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to go find my spreadsheet right here, scan demo. AppSheet's going to read my spreadsheet, and it's going to build an initial version of the app, which I will then configure to support our little demo here. Since it's super simple, there's not much that I'll need to do. I would like to bring in my scan table, so I'm going to follow the prompt there. Okay, I have that table in. I'm going to go to the columns and I'm going to set it up. AppSheet already identified that the ID was my key. It went ahead and gave me a label. I'm going to make the QR label and I'm going to set it to an image. There's nothing in there right now, but later that's what I'll want it to be. And then for my scan table, I'm going to, AppSheet already put an initial value of unique ID for this ID column, which is great, but I don't want to see it. It doesn't bring a whole lot of value to me. So I'm going to instead make the label the scan value. And I'm going to leave the reference, the parse column, just a default for now. And I'm going to create a view for our scanner. Okay, so I'm going to make a new view. I'm going to call it scanner. going to run on the scan table, and it's just going to be a form. Okay. And why don't I just pick an amazing icon? Gun. Okay. Scan. I'll put an icon here. Barcode.
Yeah, if there's one thing you need to learn about Stefan, he loves his icons.
Can't have useless information showing in the app. It just, I always get on guys in the office for not putting icons or custom icons.
He's
on
talking
their
about
views.
me. He's talking about me.
I might be talking about Clark. Okay, we can leave that for items actually. We'll give a cube for the item. Okay. Excellent. So if I go to my scanner, right now my scan field is just a text field and doesn't do anything special. But if I want to enable it to scan something and activate my device's camera to use as a scan, I have to go to data and columns. And if I drag this guy all the way over here to the right, there's a setting for scan and NFC. So the behavior of scan and NFC is very similar. Scanning is easier to demo, and so I'm using scanning instead of NFC for this demonstration. I can turn it on like that, and we see that AppSheet already went ahead and put a button on my scan field that if I press it, it would simulate as if it scanned something and gives me that result. So that's why I put that in as the key for the other table, because I knew AppSheet treats that as the default result in the emulator. Okay. If you don't remember where that checkbox is and you don't want to scroll over to the right for lack of screen space or whatever, you can also go in the column details, expand everything, go down to the very bottom and other properties and check scannable. Okay. Going to save that. And now we know that the scan works, but I want it to find a record based on that scan. So I want to find what relevant item is associated with that scan, if any. So I went ahead and changed the parse column to type of reference, which means I can connect it and refer to a record in another table, which for this case, it will be the item table. And I'm going to put a formula. And the formula is going to be the value of the scan column. So whatever it gets scanned in, I want to pass in as the value for this reference column. And because of the column type being reference, it's going to search that table and try to find a relevant record. Going to save those changes because things like new column types usually, or app formulas don't usually automatically calculate in the emulator until you save the app. And now you notice that my parse column is gone. And that's an AppSheet behavior that whenever you have a column that is dependent on another column in your form, it won't show until that dependent column is filled out. So if I scan something now, my parse shows test box. And again, for those that are new and haven't done references before, our item table has a column called ID, which I have set to the primary key. And that means I'm going to go ahead and save this record so that we can see it in the database. That means whenever this key column or key value exists in another table, like right here and right here, I can tell AppSheet that actually, this column is a reference to this item table, and it will look for this value in the item table in the ID column or whatever you define, as the key. It will search through and it will find this row right here, and it will show me in the app, you notice you didn't see 1111223333. You saw test box. And that is because in my item table, the key value is the ID, but the label, which makes sense to a user, a human who's seeing this, is the item name. So the computer uniquely identifies this row by my ID column, but it shows instead, whenever that is referenced, it shows the item name because that would make sense to a user. So again, if I open my scanner and I scan it, we see test box. So that's what's happening there. Now, so, I mean, that's pretty much it for simple scanning and references. But let's make it a little more real life and let's generate some QRs for this and try to scan with my phone. Okay, now generating QRs, there used to be an expression in Google Sheets to automatically generate one, but Google deprecated that product, and that product ended up becoming quickchart.io. Okay, so they kind of took over where Google left off, and they support this really cool API that allows you to automatically return images of charts and QR codes and all sorts of cool stuff based on URL links like this guy right here. So I'm going to go to the docs, and under chart type, I'm going to go find my QR codes. And it says this web service supports QR code generation. You can render a QR code like so. You put this URL where quickchart.io/QR text equals something, and everything after that equals gets encoded in this returned QR code image. And you can take that, print it out, slap it on a sticker, and then now that item can be scanned by your phone, and via some related data tables and AppSheet, you can learn more about that image or more about that item, or scan it into and push it through a different process in your business, or all sorts of things you could potentially do with these QR codes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this URL, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it as part of this formula. I have to put quotes around it. And then I'm going to join it with ID value. Now, if your ID value has special characters, you will probably need to do something like this encode URL function that encodes special characters to be URL safe. And now this link, if I follow this, opens up and has made a QR code for me. Okay. If I want to see that in my Google Sheet, I think there's a expression I can use called image, like so.
Stefan, we have another question.
All right.
Can this also generate EAN codes as well instead of QR codes? So meaning barcodes.
EAN codes. Not sure exactly what an EAN code is. Let me Google really fast.
Yeah, I believe it's just barcode.
Okay. 13-digit superset, 12-digit. Okay. Let's see if QuickChart can do it. Documentation. Let me do a quick Control F. EAN. Nope. Code. Nope. Okay. Top 10 APIs for barcodes. I would probably take a look at this article and see if there's anything that'll give it to you for free. Quick Chart IO does not do it. It only supports QRs, I think. GraphViz, let's see.
Yeah, Yannick is saying EAN or Everywhere Food Library. I think he's just talking about general barcodes that you would find at the store or the library.
Yep. AppSheet can scan them for sure. As far as generating them, you'd have to find a different tool other than Chart.io in order to do that. So I'm going to stick with the QR codes here for my demo since I can't generate those EANs for you, unfortunately. Let's see here. I'm just going to drag this formula down and I'm going to make QRs for all of these guys. And because I'm going to try to scan these with my phone, I'm actually going to give myself a little extra space. Okay. All right. I am going to send this app to my phone. Where's my link? Users, links, install link. And I'm going to share this with my AppSheet account. Okay. I'm loading it up on my phone. It's taking just a second, and then I'm going to log into Zoom on my phone. Are you kidding me? Oh, I would spell my email wrong. That's just classic. Okay. How about now? Okay, that is loading up. I'm going to log into Zoom. Clark, I might need you to give me presentation permissions when I join this meeting.
I believe you should have them.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
I got you muted. You're going to want to unmute on your computer now.
okay. Is that better? Is the echo gone?
The echo's not gone. You're going to want to, because you're
yes.
coming out of your speakers on your phone.
Great. I run a technology company. I promise. Okay.
Yannick
right.
asks, oh, I'm sorry. Ahmad asks, can the ID be auto-generated when adding a new code?
Yes. Yes, it can. I'll see if I can do a demo of that in a second. Let me cancel my share.
Looking good, Steph.
Thanks, bro. Screen broadcast. Why is it? Okay.
Somebody needs to close those apps.
Got them all open all the time. Okay. Scanner is live. Switching my desktop window back to the barcodes. Let's see if I can get big box here. Pressing the button. There we go. Big box. Let's try it again. Nope, I don't want that one. I want the other one. I got small box. It's really fast. So having the barcodes up close to each other is not a good idea if you want to try which ones, or try to get one in particular. Let's see if I can get medium box. There we go. All right, so you see the process there with scanning. If I wanted to improve this process, I'm going to kill the share on my screen here and go back to my computer. All right. If I look at my scan table, I now see that I have 4 scans. And if I open up the emulator here and resync it, under the scan table, I can see I have a scan for test box, big box, small box, and medium box. All right, if I wanted to improve the speed of this, actually to the point, can it auto-generate an ID for something? So maybe I want to scan something, and then when I scan it, that I want to build a QR code based on this scan result, okay, to reference back to the scan. So I could do this, take my formula in the item table that generates this QR code. I'm just going to copy the internals of this image expression. I'm going to go back to scan demo. We're going to go to data and columns in our item table. This is an image already. Let's see if AppSheet is able to load it up. It looks like it's having some trouble loading it. Yep, it's not really liking loading it as I have it here with the QR code showing all the way as an image here because of this, probably because of this image formula throwing things off, but have no fear. We're going to use the same type of expression and the concept there to create a image column in our scan table that takes the scan ID, this one, and builds a QR code for it. I'm going to add a virtual column, scan QR. So this is like if you were doing an intake of items and you were scanning items as they came in and they got a new barcode once they became part of your system, this is how you would or how you could generate that code. So I'm going to paste what I had from Google Sheets. The encode URL expression also works in AppSheet. So there's an AppSheet version of this. My column reference to A2 does not work. So instead, I'm going to pick the ID column. I'm going to press insert. Oh, it got mad at me. Insert. And AppSheet likes that. If you didn't know, you can instead of using the concatenate text expression, you can use the ampersand, and it will join two pieces of text together. So I'm going to use the front part of that URL, QR question mark text equals, and then I'm going to encode the ID of my scan, and I'll save that. I'm going to set it to type image, and I'm going to press done. And then I'm going to save it. All right. If I go to my view, I have a card view here. I'm going to use the short link here at the bottom to open it up so I can customize it. And why don't I use the photo version here and make the big photo the QR. I'm going to make it contain the full image. Actually, ooh, that looks funny. We're not going to do that. And I'm going to remove the image here.
Stefan, we have another question from Yannick. Is it not better to store the QR as an image instead of regenerate it all the time?
Yannick, can you specify, are you talking about in the spreadsheet or in AppSheet? Or just in general?
He is on a slight delay, so we'll probably see his response in the next few seconds.
Yep.
On the last slide of our presentation today, I will have a URL link that links to appsheettraining.com so that you can subscribe to our webinars. This will allow you to be able to join our Zoom calls, so you're not delayed, as well as we are, if you want to unmute and actually talk and speak, that is something that is doable.
So to speak generally to Yannick's question, if the way AppSheet loads an image is that image has to be hosted somewhere on the internet. And if that image is hosted, oops, let me put the equal sign here. If that image is hosted and generated by QuickChart, or if that image is hosted and stored in your Google Drive or a Google storage bucket or something like that, it really doesn't make a difference where it comes from. The process is all the same, essentially. And if we're talking about efficiency, you don't have to pay for storage for any of these things. You are dependent on QuickChart. So if you wanted to save them for like historical sake or something like that, I mean, there's nothing, QR is an open standard, so it's not like if QuickChart.io went anywhere that you couldn't remake these. But you could store these images. The nice thing about continually using the QuickChart API is if we step into the documentation, you can actually specify some different things about the image, like its size, add margin. There's certain error correction level stuff. I don't know what that means. And you can also customize the color of those images and the image format. So that's a lot more variety and utility than you're going to get if you store them yourself. But from a performance standpoint, it does not make a difference.
He did indeed specify. He said in the spreadsheet, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So he asked, is it not better to store the QR code as an image instead of regenerate it? Because in the spreadsheet, the formula is generated each time. And so if you're imagining 3,000 rows, that would be slowing down the process in which it's being able to generate them.
So normally I would not have the full image showing in the spreadsheet. I would have this right here. just this link. So that would code for the image that AppSheet would use to then fetch it. Like as I was showing earlier, AppSheet can't actually read this as an image very well. And so that's why in our item table, it wasn't showing. But now that I've regenerated the column structure and I've set QR image to text, and I'm just using QR now. If I go back to the view item table, okay, great. It should pull them in a little bit better, but the purpose of putting them in the spreadsheet is really to simulate if we printed them. So for doing this at scale, you can generate these in a sheet and then print the sheet, or generate them in AppSheet and print a report via the workflow engine, make a PDF report of them if you wanted to do them at scale and then print them. So there's a variety of ways you could do that. But again, the purpose of doing this was so that I could scan it with my phone. In an actual real life scenario, that's not how it would work. This barcode would be printed off, put on a sticker, and put on some device, or put on some item, physical item or location. So when I'm preparing to print, I may do something like this, or I may use AppSheet's functionality to print a PDF report instead of using the spreadsheet. So hope that answers your question, Yannick. All right, so yeah, now my images are showing for my items. And then I also have generated images for my scans. So if I went in here and I wanted to change my scan, I wanted this big box to now code for the test box. I could do that. And then my, see the parse now parses for the text box reference. All right, so let's talk about scan efficiency in the last couple of minutes. If you recognize, when I was on my phone, it took a minute for me to press the button, get the camera ready, and move on. And then I had to save it and then open it again. That's sort of a tedious workflow. So there's a couple of things you can do to make that faster. So if I'm looking at the scanner view, I'm going to click the hot link down here and open up the view controller. And AppSheet has a couple of helpful things here for me already. It says, hey, you're opening a form, you might be scanning things. Let's enable autosave or enable auto reopen. Those are down here, autosave and auto reopen. That means whenever the last field is inputted, it is going to save the form. And every time the form is saved, it'll reopen the same form. So I'll turn both of those on. I'm gonna save it. Now, as soon as I scan this, one might think it would save. But I do believe this has to be the last field in the app or in the form to do that, the last visible form. And because it's not, it's going to throw us off a little bit. So I'm going to try a couple of things. I'm going to go back to my form view, and I'm going to customize the column order. I'm going to throw all other columns before scan, which pushes my scan to the bottom. We'll see if that allows it to auto close and auto reopen, or auto save rather. Yep, that's the behavior that I'm looking for. So as long as the last field gets auto set, I'm just gonna keep clicking through this so we can see a nice big list of things in our scan table. We're gonna have a bunch of test boxes down here. Great. So that is a faster way to scan and reopen things. You can also, if you want to carry over data from the previous scan. So maybe in our scanner, we had another column for shipment or something like that. Add that column, going to go into AppSheet and regenerate the data structure. So I wanted to track what truck these came in on. These all came in on big truck. I'll scan it and it reopens and the shipment would be left blank. Now, if I wanted to autofill that every time this thing's saved, it looks like there's not an option to do that based on the tools I have in my form controller. You might think, okay, well, maybe I could put an initial value formula in this column that would take the most recent scan and grab its initial value and put it in here. That could work. My preferred way is to use an action. So I'm going to call this link to filled form, scan form. And this is going to happen on the scan table. And it is going to go to another view within this app. To create actions that link to other parts of your application, you are going to use a deep link expression. And there's one here that I'm looking for in particular, link to form. This is a very useful expression inside of AppSheet. You tell it what form view to go to, and then you can pre-fill columns in that form based on data in the row that you're in, or with some other formula to pull in some data, or you could hard code some data. So this is saying put in the date column of imaginary form, put the value today, and in the color column, put this row's color. Now, to find out what view I want, I'm going to open up my Crew Tools extension here, and I'm going to get this one. My scan form.
For those of you who don't have Crew Tools, it is so helpful and free on our website or on the Chrome store. Actually, Stefan, where do you download this? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's on the Google Chrome extension store.
Yeah.
So just Google Crew Tools and it should pop up there for you. We're also releasing a pro version very soon to store your snippets in the cloud and then unlock future functionality as well. So for those of you that are looking for a little upgrade, that is coming very soon. All right, so I want to open my scan form and then I want to pre-fill a couple columns, namely the shipment. Okay, so I'm going to throw some quotes in there. I want to fill the shipment column with the existing row's shipment value. So whatever row this action triggers on, it's going to take its shipment value and put it in the shipment column. And then that's that. So I'm going to save it. This icon just for you, Clark. Nice, relevant icon.
You love to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now anytime I go in my scan table, I open up one of these guys, I now have an action button that says link to filled scan form, which is the long name, and you probably wouldn't keep that as the regular name. You might use a display name to shorten it. If I press it, it opens it up, and this one did not have a shipment, so nothing came in. Why don't I go down to the last one? There we go. We have a new form with the shipment big truck pre-filled. Now, I don't want somebody to have to press this button every time. I would rather it happen as soon as they scan that it automatically fires that action and loads us back into a form with the shipment pre-filled. So the way I would do that is instead of triggering this action from a button, I'm going to trigger it from a different kind of event. So I'm going to go down here into the behavior section of this form view. And then it specifies an event action that I can trigger any other action in my app from. So this form saved event. So whenever somebody saves the form, it'll do this thing. Link to pre-filled scan form. That's what I want it to do. And I'm going to turn off auto reopen because I'm basically duplicating that behavior with my action. I'm going to save. Now, shipping from big truck, test box. All right, it opened up. And notice my scan column jumped up above my scan QR. And so now my behavior doesn't work the same way I wanted it to. And after I saved, it didn't reopen. Very interesting. I'll tell you why that happened. If I open up system views, if you recall, I pointed it to the scan, my link to form action. I pointed it to the scan form. But I have the custom column order and event action behavior on my scanner form. Okay, whenever you do this, I highly recommend you don't use the default form or the system form view to attach a behavior action to or an event action, because that form view is going to get recycled in your app all over the place. Whenever you hit an edit button for that row or for a record of that table, it will open up the default form view by default and will fire your action. And so that you may not want that action to be propagated across every possible form opening and saving on that table. So it's better if you point it to a form with a single purpose. So we created the scanner form for this particular purpose of rapid intake of scans. Now our looping form pre-filling process should take me back here. Truck, scan. There we go. And it is rinse and repeat. And then when I'm done, I'll press cancel. And now if I group this view by the shipment descending and count them, we can see I have 15 scans for my big truck shipment. And about 8 of those I added in less than 10 seconds. So that's a useful behavior you can add to optimize scanning efficiency inside of AppSheet. All righty, guys. If there are no other questions, Clark, sounds like there is one.
We do have a question. Yannick asks, can AppSheet use Google Tables now? If you're talking about Google Sheets, yes. If you
So
aren't,
for Google Tables is a new product that that Google has out. Tables.google.com. Just kidding. It's tables area.area120.google.com. I'm pretty sure. Here we go. Yeah. So this is Google Tables. This is a really cool new product, a beta product from Google. We notice up here in the image, it says beta. This is not yet a formal data source for AppSheet, though being a Google product, being in the family, you could imagine that when this is out of beta, that it will probably get an integration with Google, with AppSheet. So I highly recommend anybody that's looking for some flexible task tracking or light process automation to look into Google Tables. It is very, very cool.
Yannick says Airtable killer.
Yeah, Airtable killer, Airtable clone, you might say. Airtable is definitely a great and creative idea. So want to honor them for being there first.
We did have one more question earlier from Ahmad. What is the advice for integrating a barcode printer for a small inventory system?
Yes, that's a great question. And unfortunately, there's not an easy answer. Most, like Zebra is a company that does barcode printing, or like small mobile printers for the purpose of printing receipts or printing stickers with barcodes and stuff like that. Most of those printers are Bluetooth printers and are connected to a device, and they use like the default printing functionality of a device to like as their mode of operation. But AppSheet doesn't have like an export to printer type of function. So the best way, okay, there's technically two ways. If you have a share button in your app, this share button right here that's in the side used to be down here in UX options. Allow 5 menu bars. There we go. So this is the old menu style from AppSheet. And whenever you were on a single record and you pressed share, it opened up the share intent on your device. So that's like send in messages or share to Google Drive or something like that in Android and iOS devices. So if you had some sort of, you wanted to send a record like that, you could probably use this row level share action. But my recommendation for printing anything from AppSheet is to set up a workflow that sends an email to a cloud printer. So many printers have a like email address endpoint that you could email something to, and it will print out the attachment or print out the body of the email. And then you would put in the body of your email the formatted document that you would want it to print. And I would try to play around with that functionality, see how far that could get you. I did have one person that we consulted for that had a very creative use of an Excel macro that automated the printing of new things loaded into an Excel file, which he hijacked some things through SharePoint and other stuff to like automatically print things whenever a new row was added in a table, which is pretty cool. They did it. They used that at scale in a large plastics manufacturer up north. So there are some creative ways to do it, but I would recommend starting with an email workflow.
All right, and then the other question that we had was actually about crew tools. Someone was looking for some more help with that, maybe a tutorial. And so we may cover that in another video.
There is a YouTube video out there.
There is a YouTube video
We'll
made by
link
us.
that in the description.
Yeah, we'll put that in the description so you guys can see that. But
it might be a little out of date. We should probably make another one at the release of our pro version.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that's all of our questions on YouTube. Nothing in Zoom. Yeah. So we should be pretty good. I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Now, some things that I added. Sorry, Stefan, I added this while you were presenting.
No, that's okay.
But what we want to know is there's anything about AppSheet and its functionality that you guys are curious about. We're looking for more fun and interesting topics. And we're not sure what is needed in the community as of right now. And so if there's some specifics that you guys are looking for, please email me. You can comment on the YouTube channel, but I might miss it. So emailing is better. But we would love to be able to address the questions and topics that you guys are interested in. If it's a very, very specific question, we may just answer those. But if it's more broad and we're able to structure a webinar around that, we would love to be able to do that for you guys. So yeah, feel free to email me, clark@crewtech.com, so that we can get that out for you. And then on to our next slide, everyone's favorite part. At the top here, at the top left, this is the link that I was talking about earlier, appsheettraining.com/webinar. This is how you will get into our subscribe list, so that you'll have our emails. You'll get notifications and reminders about upcoming webinars, as well as links to the YouTube to the YouTube live, as well as the Zoom call. So that's very, very nice. Here we have the appsheettraining.com IQ. If you haven't heard about it, it's definitely something that you should have in your repertoire. Very, very handy for knowing what things you may need more practice in for AppSheet, and aiding in addressing questions that you may have, as well as our on-demand video courses. And then, as I said before, we are crewtech.com. So we do offer consulting and enterprise training for those of you who are interested in that, as well as development and support on apps that you guys are building, that you're struggling with. We're here for you. That's our goal. That's our mission. It's to help you guys out. And we're able to do that for free, thanks to the generosity of Stefan, devoting his time and his efforts into creating these demonstrations for you. But we do ask that you guys would like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the webinar today. We'll see you back again next week, on Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.